Okay. We are recording today's webinar, and this webinar will be posted on our new YouTube channel that I started yesterday, and it's going to be posted on the Facebook page, and a link will be sent out by email to our entire membership if you want to watch it after we record it. I do want to say it may take up to 24 hours for me to be able to do that. I have to try to make deals happen myself, so please be patient. And I apologize. I'm not the most tech-savvy person out there, so I know some of this could have more of a professional, polished look to it, but I think at this point, instead of me spending hours or the BBF spending hours trying to give it a polished look, it's more important we just get the information that's vital for all of us to know across to people as soon as possible. So today I am super excited. If you're looking at who we've got joining us today as panelists across the top, we've got some of the superstars from around Florida joining us today. We've got, I'm going to ask everybody to say hi. We've got Roberta Caputo from South Florida. Say hi, Roberta.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Welcome, Roberta. We got Russell Cohen from South Florida. Can you say hi, Russell?
Hey, everyone. Good to have you.
Excellent. And from the West Coast, we got Brian Stephens.
Howdy.
He's enjoying the beach there.
Got my suntan lotion on.
And we got DiNeno.
Buongiorno.
Say hi again, Chris. I want to make sure everybody can see your picture pop up.
Thank you. Buongiorno.
Perfect. And then from Central Florida, we got Tony Blair.
How y'all doing? Thank you.
And has Mike Shea joined us yet?
No.
No.
Okay, we'll come back. And in North Florida, we got Patrick Lange.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Patrick. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
Good. And we got Terri Sherman.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Terri. Thank you for joining us. So as you can see, we've got some of the top producers from all over the Florida. Some of these people are district board members, state board members, and top dollar earners from across the state. And so I thought it'd be great to get all these talented, wonderful people together in one webinar, and just kind of talk about what's happening right now in the marketplace. And I do want to open it up for questions and answers from our members as well. And for those members that have not been on one of our webinars before, you can do one of two things. There's a chat room in the bottom left-hand corner. If you go to the bottom part of your screen, you can hit chat, and you can type in a question. Or there's also a place that you can raise a virtual hand. And a virtual hand, what I can do is I can unmute you, and you can ask the question directly yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to come right out and say this, or ask this question. Maybe, Roberta, I'll start with you. Can you actually make deals happen right now in the COVID-19 era?
Absolutely. And I think that we always preach as business brokers or brokers of our own companies, etc., that one of the most enticing things about our industry is that it is somewhat recession-proof. I stretch that one further. I think it's virus-proof as well, because just like in any type of economy, there are certain industries, sadly, that will not fare well, but there are always others that will triumphant and will do exceedingly well. And I think that's the case now. There's all essential businesses, obviously, will be in very, very high demand. There are a myriad of reasons that cause people to have to sell and to have to purchase. I think we need to go back to Business Brokerage 101 and start thinking about, like we did in earlier recessions, where massive amounts of folks were losing their jobs, and they were able to take those 401k monies and convert them and use those to purchase a business. And there was a whole lot more of seller financing going on when the SBA cut back all of lending. So, we need to kind of guide the market now and teach our sellers and buyers how and what to purchase during these, very, very challenging times. But absolutely, businesses, we've already had several businesses since this started. I think Patrick Gagliardi had his largest closing a week ago Friday. Businesses will close, they're available, and we need to stay the course.
Great. Thank you, Roberta. We got Michael Shea that just joined us. Mike, how you doing?
Sorry, I was on another call.
Hey, I let everybody know that. Hey, Mike.
Meta ran long.
Well, I'm glad you could make it, Mike. We got I was telling everybody we got such a talented team of people on this webinar right now, including yourself and 7 others. I had just asked Roberta, and I'd like to hear your opinion. Can deals actually get done in this marketplace right now with the COVID-19? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to negotiate, much like Roberta said, back like we did in 9 and 8 and 9. You're going to be dealing with apprehension, fear, and disappointment. So we're going to have to do our jobs. We're going to have to be advisors. We're going to have to really ground out some realities on what is, something's going to sell for and what it's not going to sell for. And you're going to have to hold paper, and landlords are going to have to get real once again. But I think if anyone's under the expectation it is going to be like it's been for the last 2 or 3 years, nope. It's time to work.
It's over. It's been kind of easy to do deals the last couple of years, and I think that party's over, and it's time to got to put a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah, we're gonna look. You're gonna have to co-broker. The brokers have got to work together, and we've got to make sure that sellers are being educated on what the truth is. That's going to mean some tough conversations, and then from our own industry standpoint, we're going to have to go into survival mode and make sure we're getting our minimums up where they need to be, so that we're not working like slaves. Because we've got businesses to run too. So I think everybody who's here has been through this long enough. We know the good and the bad, and it's going to be tough, but we'll be through it. We'll get through it in a year or 2.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, Russell. Have you changed your practice at all, Russell, and what you're doing?
Well, I'm still advertising from the standpoint from the biz buy sell and all the websites, everything from the buyer standpoint. All the advertisings are up. They're going to stay there. Put a little more money into biz buy sell for specialty ads. But from a marketing standpoint for my sellers, are going to keep the marketing going where a lot of people cut it down, and I'm going to invest in some telemarketing. Get a couple of lists, because we're going to have probably in May and June a little quiet time that I could probably go and start doing some telemarketing. If not, hire a firm to do it for me. But that's probably one of the newest things I'm going to probably jump on in May and June.
Are you going to be targeting new industries, Russell?
Well, I mean, if you go to the essential list, those are the businesses that are probably doing really well. So if you can land an engagement in those categories, you probably got a very good company. We really got to think about if SBA is going to be around, the 7A loans are going to be around, then we still can sell some decent sized deals. If we lose SBA like we did back in 2009, we're going to be moving downstream to smaller deals, and seller financing is going to become the norm, and going to have to embrace that. But the whole future in the next year or 2 will dictate based on SBA if the 7A loans are going to continue to go through.
Great. How do you feel about the 7A loans, Russell?
I think the best way to get those loans through is to find an SBA broker, as all the banks are now so focused on PPP, they're not going to come off our air for 6 months. So I've been directing towards Diamond. I've been directing towards Jack Berger. They have, and Jack Berger is one of our lenders down here who's an SBA broker. They have lenders that are not part of the PPP, And so that's where you're going to need to direct your clients to the SBA brokers, not to directly to the banks.
Yeah. Hey, Tony Blair, I know that you do a lot of SBA loans. How do you, what's your thought process on the SBA loans right now and in the future?
I mean, we're still working with some banks to do 7A. We're still in a process. Most of those are essential businesses that are still getting done, and closings are still happening. So I think moving forward, if you can't find the opportunities in the essential businesses, it's going to get delayed and it's going to be pushed back maybe another year from now, looking at non-essential businesses that are out there right now. So just redirecting your focus on what type of businesses that you're looking at, what type of buyers you're looking at. But we're still getting them done. We're still communicating daily with some banks.
Okay. I'm going to open up this question to pretty much anybody that wants to answer it. What are you telling sellers right now, and what are you telling buyers? Anybody want to answer that? Chris? Roberta? Chris? We haven't heard from you.
I've been reaching out to my sellers daily, taking a couple of them and, just kind of talking, finding out what most of you probably know, I'm pretty much focused in food and beverage. So not a lot happening there right now. But the fact that a lot of the restaurants can do takeout and delivery, some of those aspects, how to do it properly. And the buyers, we're still getting buyers. You had mentioned that maybe it was Russell, but I'm still getting leads daily through my advertising on Biz Buy Sell. Certainly not to the extent that we were, but to get 4 to 6 new organic leads a day now is exciting. So we do get to talk to those people. Almost all of them are up north. They're looking to come down when the dust settles, and obviously some of these listings won't still be around. But it's interesting to see what people are interested in doing something. They just know. Matter of fact, we have 2 new buyers, and even though they know these places are shut down, they're willing to start the negotiation process. And even one of them is from Indiana and said, as soon as we get there, we'll jump on a plane and come down. So I don't know. It's interesting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Chris, I've experienced at our office, we've seen a great decline on buyer leads, but the buyers that are contacting us, it seems like they're the more serious buyers, because they always say, we know that 19 out of 20 buyers that contact us as brokers are not serious. And it just seems like we're having a higher ratio of serious buyers. Is any of you else on this panel experiencing that, or the quality of buyers? I'm sorry, Chris?
I said, I agree with you 100%. It's kind of like the same thing I tell sellers over the Christmas break. I always say, we're not going to have near as many buyers during that, Christmas vacation. I said, but the buyers that do come out during that time are real. I've always found, so it's kind of the same thing right now. I've enjoyed talking to the prospects that are.
Cool. Hey, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
What things are you right now? Are you doing anything to change your practice, or what adjustments are you making?
I'm trying to market more. I think there's a lot of people sitting at home online, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on these different things. So I'm trying to do that. I'm reaching out to my sellers, kind of keeping them off the cliff. Obviously, as you know, I try to sell 99% of what I sell is heating and air companies, and for most of them, they're still staying busy. People are at home. It's 90 degrees in most of Florida and Georgia and the Southeast where I serve. And so they're still making money. I've had them send me updated numbers to see where we are from a drop off, but I've been promoting what a great time it is to buy. I think I've talked to several of my SBA lenders, and they're willing to still do 7A loans. And obviously with the rule about the 6 months of payments that the government's willing to make for those people on new acquisitions, I've reached back out to buyers who were kind of talking before everything started, and then rightfully so they wanted to see where we're going and where everything's going to end up. And I've reached back out to them to say, you've got a short window. I think now they've extended till the end of September, middle of September. that the government will make 6 months of payments for them. And so I'm saying if there's an opportunity to buy, you may never have this opportunity again in your lifetime. You know, for the government to step up and make some of your payments. So I'm stressing it. What a great buying opportunity it is, and doing that in my marketing as well.
You know, I got to tell you, Patrick, I think that the PPP has had a lot of people talking about that program, but the 7A, I agree with you that's huge. You know, the fact that the federal government's going to pay the principal and interest for 6 months, that's a game changer. And plus, aren't they paying the processing fees for a new loan as well? Which, you know, that could cost 40 grand, 80 grand. You know, so those are game changers. And I know, like, it's also an opportunity to reach out to business owners that you've sold businesses to in the past and let them know, hey, do you know that the federal government, I know you bought this business 3 years ago, but you know the federal government's going to pay 6 months of your principal and interest on your SBA loan if you apply. That's huge. And so it's not only good for them, but for a new buyer when you're talking to a new buyer about buying a business. You know, Tony, I think you've been pushing that hard, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been reaching out to all of our buyers, and I work mainly with buyers, so I've got a huge database and a lot of contact with multiple buyers as well that are looking at this as more of an opportunity for them, and we're continuing to get those calls every day.
Great. So Brian Stephens, are you doing anything right now differently in the marketplace?
Yeah, I started off with actually I picked up an old Keller Williams book called Lift. I sort of reinvented what I was doing. You know, one of the first things it said cut expenses, but one place I haven't cut is on advertising and marketing. And I've always been one of our 5, basic core values is education, always learn, always share. So I'm amazed how many conference calls and Zoom calls I've been on the last 3 weeks. But there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of great stuff. We were just on that same one with Andy Cagnetta earlier. And what I found is that there's just probably the biggest thing is both our clients, they've always known, or they've probably not realized, but they've always needed knowledge. And we're finding ourselves as a resource for really helping them, understanding what value is, how the process works, what those reality factors are. Like it or not, a lot of them just have an imagination of what the business is worth, and then they can sell it in 45 days, and a buyer can come in with no money. And we're spending a lot of time really, really heartfeltly trying to help both buyers and sellers make good decisions. We're focusing a lot on education.
I think it's great. That's what we're selling at the end of the day is our knowledge.
Yeah.
Terri, what are you doing right now? How are you spending your days?
So much like everyone said, I'm going to echo that. I feel like I've tried to take advantage of all the different webinars that have been put on, just to kind of keep in the loop of what's happening, particularly with the CARES Act, because it seems to be so dynamic and fluid and changing. So doing a lot of that, keeping in touch with buyers and sellers as well, much like you were saying about the fact that we have this opportunity for new buyers that can qualify and can obtain the 7A loans to get the 6 months, pushing that, but really kind of pivoting more into being a resource and doing a lot more education, I guess you will. So with this downtime, being able to take the time to actually churn out blog posts on my website on things that I didn't have the time to do before, and then kind of transitioning those over into social media posts as well. So just a lot of marketing and more a resource now than anything.
Mm-hmm. Terri, do you feel like the deals can happen over the next couple of months?
I do. I just think that, it will shift a bit in terms of the types of deals and maybe the structure of those deals. I actually have a call with a buyer and a seller tomorrow. I've been working with this buyer before all of this happened. And so in his case, a lot of the capital that he was originally looking to work with, they lost in the markets. But he's like, I have a small reserve, so let's pivot and find a smaller business now that I can wrap my arms around, and one that maybe is more resistant to a downturn. So we're looking at a home healthcare agency tomorrow. So yes, I just think that, again, we just have to be more strategic in the types of deals that we're going after. And as I believe someone said earlier, the types of buyers that we're now working with, people that we know are serious, which I do think people in this market, if they're talking about buying, they are serious, yes. Naturally. But yes,
they're not scared, that's for sure.
They're not. So I think the people that are more scared and tire kickers, they're too nervous to even be exploring in such volume as they were before. So I agree. They're probably more serious if they're looking now.
Mike, Shea, I know you've been, you've been a business broker in Central Florida for many, many years, and very, very successful, always one of the top producers in Central Florida. What do you've seen everything. You've seen the Great Recession. You saw before that. What are you currently doing right now to make it through this climate?
I think
a lot.
We gotta do something for our own mental health. There's always something to do. Like when we look at businesses, if you're a business broker and you haven't planned for a rainy day, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time. We run businesses and we have reserves and we keep doing the blocking and tackling that we do every day. I've been doing blog posts. I've been doing YouTube videos. I've been on a call with, our franchisees across the country, and we're teaching them some things. Doing a lot of education with buyers, some of the ones who just got punched in the mouth and laid off. And then, trying to point people towards, as Russell said, the essentials, the blocking and tackling businesses that are thriving, that thrived in the good times and the bad times, the lawn companies, the pool companies, the things that, get overlooked when things are good. I'm trying to point out to people, guess what, wealth and money wears working clothes. And, right now when things are bad, wouldn't you rather have an income than, sit behind a desk? So I think we're going to be spending a lot of time teaching buyers to see the truth and to suspend their perceptions. We're going to spend a lot of time educating them about how you can do this, in a non-risky fashion. There's going to be a lot of bad information, just like in 2009 about what something's worth versus what it's not worth. We're just in the beginning of that process with people. So, I think whoever said we're in a limbo phase where we're people are kind of punch drunk. Both buyers and sellers haven't realized what's happened. And, I expect probably in 2 weeks, the activity is going to dramatically jump because, the shoe's going to drop. They got their money. They're going to realize the lifeline's not there, and they're going to have to start making decisions. So I'm just trying to get in position to catch those people when it happens. And educate 3 kids at home and take care of old people at home. And I'm just like everybody else. I got 3 kids here, and I'm trying to teach classes and had to do a gym class this morning with my 9-year-old. It's crazy.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, Roberta, maybe we just go through the panel right now, and everybody can answer this question, and then we'll open it up to questions from the membership. But maybe we can ask everybody, what message do you want to get across to everybody that's listening right now? Because everybody's listening right now is obviously a business broker, and their concern is trying to make deals happen and make money or make a livelihood for their family. So if we can go through and everybody just give their recommendation of what you think they should be doing right now. We'll start with you, Roberta.
Sure. I think it's very, very important that actually, Jim, you had said this to me, and it really resonated, that how long and how many folks have we talked to that say, well, listen, I'm just too busy. I don't have time to get that together for you. Well, now's the time. I mean, everyone should be going back to all of those sellers that they've worked with and were kind of being put on the fence. They might have a whole different point of view now. I think we may take for granted that all of the information that we're bombarded with because of our profession, that our buyers and sellers aren't privy to. So when we talk about education, I hope we're talking about educating our buyers and sellers and sharing this wealth of information that we have at our fingertips. I think it's going to go a very long way and outlast this whole pandemic, knowing that we became a resource during that. Like Russell always says and lives and breathes, now's the time, and as always is the time, but now even more than ever, not to let up on marketing and advertising, and that those monies will be very, very well spent, and that you're part of a community. The business brokers of Florida, there is nothing else out there like us. Join the BBF, like you said, Jim, the Facebook page, and know that we're here to reach out to and talk to if you need help or just someone to talk to. Certainly none of us are in this alone, and I think that's an important message for everybody to get.
Roberta, that is excellent. Thank you so much. Russell, what message would you want to get across to the BBF membership?
Well, there's definitely opportunity to list, if to engage in your clients over clients that you were talking to in the past 60, 90 days that were contemplating. You can still do an e-sign and get people to enroll. Was able to bring on one engagement so far during the past 3 weeks. And so you still can, the people that were along in the process, they might be a little more quicker to move into the process now because they want to get it out there. But when the dust settles, we're going to see a tremendous amount of distressed businesses hit the market. I'm starting to get inquiries on distressed business, people who have SBA loans. It's going to be an upside down situation. We're going to be back into a short sale situation that we had like in 08 and 09. So we're just going to get an abundance of engagements, leads that are going to be sellers struggling, unfortunately.
Great. Thank you, Russell. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I would encourage everybody to stay really positive and hang in the game. And I'm not just sort of saying that as an emotional thing. The reality is that there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of good things coming. We don't know when all this is going to end. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that are not going to pay attention to this call and the stuff that we do. There's going to be a lot less people working in the industry, and that means the need is actually increasing more. So I'd just be positive and go out there and just work maybe a little harder than you've ever had before for a period of time, and reach out and realize that what you're doing for people is something that's really going to benefit them, for either the corporate refugee that's lost his or her job and needs something they can build, or the person that's just done with working for their business and ready to get out or badly needs to get out. So be encouraged, be positive, and work hard.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Chris, what are your thoughts? What do you want to get across to brokers right now?
I think it's absolutely imperative to stay focused, not get caught up in the noise that's going on all around you in the news. And some of you probably work from home. I work in my office, but I have a big TV up there, and I keep the volume off, and I'm not trying to listen to what's there. And really taking this opportunity to learn about my office, why I've been successful in the past, how I can use that going forward, but learn more about systems and systems that are available besides what I have right now with Zoom. This is a great platform we have right here. There was a question I threw out to you today about, how to do orientations. This is great. Well, this is the way I can communicate with my people now. I don't have to, it's easy for me to explain rather than have somebody come to my office and say, let's do a Zoom meeting where I can present some of the financials. We can go over the recasting, things like that. We don't have to get face-to-face, which is great because a lot of my buyers are out of state. A lot of them are up in the Rust Belt. So now, having used this, which I never did Zoom, I did Zoom occasionally, but now it's becoming, a lifeline. You got to be able to use this tool, and that's great. So we're learning by it. And I just think everybody needs to really just stay focused on that learning. Let's learn how to be better by looking at our past, knowing where we're at today, and making it work for us in the future.
That's excellent, Chris. Thank you so much, buddy. Tony, you have anything you would like to get across to the membership?
Yeah, I want to reiterate, just be focused, be positive, just kind of look outside the box. There's going to be an enormous amount of opportunities that are going to be coming up, revisiting relationships with landlord tenants and banks that have portfolios with SBA and just other small business loans, reaching out to them because there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming down the pipeline here soon.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Mike Shea, some words of wisdom to make these BBF members be successful.
He's on mute.
Mike?
He's on mute.
Hey, sorry. Co-broker, work together, don't be pig-headed and greedy, because it won't work long term, and this is going to be a long stretch. Be patient with each other. As Brian pointed out, there's going to be less people in the business, and I don't know if any of you guys have gotten the calls, but the vultures are starting to circle the opportunities, and you're going to have to protect your sellers from the predators, and that'll mean some abuse on our end. We're going to get yelled at and castigated. Run your business, meaning make sure you got your minimums in place, watch your paperwork, don't get cheated out at the closing table. It's going to be tough, but remember, for those of us, I think everybody here was here in the beginning of this thing back in 9 and 8. On the back side of it, there's a big wave. So you're going to learn a ton dealing with emotional buyers, emotional sellers. Guess what? We get to bend landlords for a while. It's going to be a good thing. Negotiate great leases for your sellers or your buyers. They're going to love you for the next 10 years, because those landlords are going to be, earn your bones now, because they're going to love you in 10 years when the second sale comes. God willing, we're all there.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. Patrick Lange up in North Florida. How do you think BBF members can be successful right now?
Well, I think echoing what everybody else said, staying focused, staying away from the news probably. I've been on a lot of these Skype and Zoom and every other call that's taking place, and obviously we're talking about how bad it is, but I think the reality is that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there, and we're not the ones who dictate the price, the market is. So it's not our fault that things are worth less today than they were 6 months ago. And I think having those conversations with sellers and buyers and making sure everybody's realistic, and I think focusing on the opportunities. I think there's a lot of them out there. As everybody said, there'll probably be, at the end of this, less people in the business. And so, keeping the marketing going, keeping the communication going, helping people, I think it'll pay huge dividends. And as it did in previous downturns, as people look back, the ones I think that will rise to the top are the ones that kept looking for those opportunities and helping people. And, as Mike just said, helping with leases, helping with all the things that we're in a position to help with, that I think there's opportunities there, and aligning ourselves with the right lenders that are in a position to help us out where we can get some lending done, and finding out who the real partners are. Obviously I was in the financial business before, and the term always was mistaking a bull market for brilliance. And I think that there's been a lot of people in this industry that have beat themselves in the chest to how great they were. And I think now's an opportunity to see how great they were. And I think it gives people who are out working and taking advantage of every opportunity and an ability to rise to the top. And I think that it's going to be long and it's going to be challenging, but I think there's deals to be done. And as everybody said initially, their phone's still ringing. They're not getting as many as they were every day, but they're still getting the calls from serious buyers. And so being the matchmaker to make that happen, and I think we'll be compensated for it.
Great. Patrick, thank you. Really appreciate that, buddy. Terry, what are your thoughts?
I think everyone's shared some tremendous tips so far, but really I would just underscore the need to have the more difficult conversations up front, and just trying to help set and manage expectations on both buy and sell sides for what to expect in the process and things of that sort, particularly with sellers, because they're going to have to be more realistic, obviously, and perhaps even more yielding, if you will, in this new climate. So I think just, again, trying to help set and help manage those expectations for both parties along the way.
Great. Thank you, Terry. I want to throw in my 2 cents about this too. And, I guess this is what I've been trying to get across personally for the last couple of weeks to everybody is, not to give up. There are deals to be done and money to be made, and, adversity hits us, and, that's what defines you as an individual is, how you stand up to adversity. And there's going to be some of us that are going to fight and fight harder, and there's going to be other ones that of us that are going to, just throw up our hands and say deals can't be done. It's too hard of a climate. And, what I find interesting here with these 8 people that we got on the webinar right now, these panelists, is that most of them kept speaking about opportunity, and they kept using that word opportunity. And you got to remember, these are some of the top producing agents in the state of Florida. And, you know, you just keep hearing opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. And I think that's what separates, you know, those that fail from those that not only succeed, but exceed. And, you know, I think we kind of listen to their wisdom. It's a good thing. Me personally, I think that, you know, all BBF members right now, you should be reaching out to everybody you sold a business to in the last 5 or 6 years and make sure that they know about all the programs that are available to them, whether it's the PPP or the restructure of the 7A or whatever it is. Also reaching out to all the current buyers you were talking to before the COVID-19 and explain what opportunities that they have lying ahead with like 7A loan. And then reaching out, like Roberta was mentioning, reaching out to business owners that you've been talking to that have wanting to sell their business, and they've wanted to sell for their business for 6 months or longer, but they just always don't have the time to get all the financial information together or all the other information together that you can actually take it to the market. Maybe they're in the position now where they have the time to do it. So, you know, yeah, there's not as many buyers that are probably calling you right now. And we all know 19 out of 20 of these buyers that call us are not serious buyers. It seems like the buyers that are calling tend to be the more serious buyers. All the other time that you would have wasted with the non-serious buyers, that's the time that you could be spending just making as many phone calls and contacts as possible with business owners, past sellers, current buyers, and just talk to as many people as you can and reach out and give them as much advice and knowledge that you've learned in the last couple of weeks about the CARE Act and make sure they know that. And maybe not try to sell them as much, but try to educate them. And it'll come back to you tenfold. I do got to say this. The two last things I want to say before we open up the Q&A from our membership, and that's this. There's $2 trillion that's now hit our economy because of the CARE Act. I don't know about you guys, but I want a very, very, very little, tiny, teensy little sliver of pie. Not even a slice or a sliver, just a little taste on my tongue of that $2 trillion. I don't need too much. And the other thing is, we are so lucky out of every other business broker in the United States, and I'm not just saying this, we are so lucky to be members of the BBF because you know what? We're about co-brokering, and that's what we do is we co-broke. And we're in the situation right now where other brokers around the country are not in, where they have to not only find a seller that can sell, but a buyer that can buy. If you can just identify one of those two and put a lot of energy into that, you can get deals done. You know, and we're just lucky to be BBF members where we're co-brokering. And I think I've got a couple potential deals going on right now. And I think every single one of them is another BBF member involved in that transaction. And every day I'm like, thank God I'm a BBF member because a lot of people around the country, a lot of brokers don't have that opportunity. So let's go ahead and let's open this up. Somebody keeps asking, a couple questions been asking this is a tough one. Has anyone closed on any deals in the last 2 weeks?
We have.
Yeah, I did.
We did also.
Okay, what kind of deals did you close on, Roberta?
Ours was a yachting repair. It sold for $1.1 million. It was a private equity group out of the Midwest that purchased it. And they've given us pretty much an open rec to find any other strategic types of companies. They're a $1 billion company that would meet with that. And so that was easy. We have a couple more SBA loans coming up in the next month or two. And the message that we're receiving is that those will close as scheduled, as long as always all the criteria is met. So again, I feel optimistic, and there's a lot of businesses out there, and it's up to us to go there and get them and educate them and bring them to the BBF to sell.
Great. Thank you, Roberta. Mike, you closed on something you said?
Yeah, I did a property management company.
Great. Excellent. When did you close on that?
About 2 weeks ago. We did it in the parking lot of the Panera.
In the parking lot of Panera.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
we did it virtually. Yeah, we did a virtual closing because the lawyer couldn't get out, and even inside the restaurant, it was in the parking lot out of the back of my Nissan.
Great. Anybody else close on anything in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah. Jim, one thing on that was the terms changed. So the terms are going to change. You're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to do creative seller notes. You're going to have to do contingencies. You're going to have to do possible earnouts. By the way, make sure your paperwork's tight on the earnouts. Like, get it in there. Change the terms. Change the contract to reflect you getting paid. You don't want to leave an open door.
Okay. You probably really have to think outside the box right now, too.
Yeah, I want to mention something real quick. Restaurants, we are closing on one on Friday, which, you know, in this time it seems like it'd be very difficult to close, but we are closing one cash deal. We also are in LOI with another restaurant, working with the landlord, which possibly will close here in the next couple weeks as well. We still are getting calls on restaurants as well. So, you know, it still can be done.
And what are the buyers? And the buyers, and Tony, you know, just a disclaimer here, me and Tony, you know, we're partners in Boss Group, you know, but why are the buyers calling you? You know, like what's their attitude, the buyers that are calling on you on the restaurants?
Well, the buyers are all restaurant owners. So they're looking for, you know, multiple locations, second generation locations, third stores, whatever it is, but they're restaurant buyers. So they're looking at the opportunities that are out there right now as well.
Are they looking for distressed sales right now?
No, not necessarily. I mean, one that we're working on right now is the $3 million, 3 locations. So, you know, it's a group out of Chicago that loves the restaurant, loves the concept. They know what the situation is here because they're in the same situation. So the one we're closing this week is a cash buyer that knows it's going to end, and they know they're getting a great deal in the restaurant, and they just want to be in a position to own it when this is over.
Jim, we have a nail salon that folks from New York are coming down to purchase, and they feel it's going to be a tidal wave as soon as this is lifted. And they said it's going to take that much time just for them to get in and remotely train operators and line them up, etc., to meet that demand that they know will be there, and feel that it's worth the carrying time, and if they have to, they'll go for assists. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I wouldn't count out any type of industry, because hopefully the market will come back with a vengeance.
Excellent. Anybody else got any deals going on right now or closed in the last 2 weeks? I think it's probably the most important question people are going to be asking.
I closed one 2 weeks ago, heating and air company in Tampa.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
We closed a food distribution one down in Sarasota about 2.5 weeks ago. So real estate, property, and the business itself.
Excellent, Brian.
Well, good.
I'm going to tell you right now, I probably got 4 businesses that I think there's a strong possibility we almost lost you, Brian. You almost fell in the ocean there, buddy.
I'm readjusting my chair on my lawn chair.
Like Gilligan.
I got like 4 businesses right now that I think have a potential going, you know, under contract. So, you know, I don't think they all will, but I think there's potential for 4 right now. They got strong buyers looking at them. So let's go through some of these other questions people have. And if anybody wants to hold up their virtual hand, I think we've got something from Peter Harrison. And Peter, do you have a question for the panel?
He's still on mute.
I'm trying to make him unmute.
Brian can't answer that question.
Okay. Sorry, Peter. I don't seem to be working that. I'm not very tech savvy. Okay. Someone was asking about SBA. Is asking about SBA loans, and some banks are closed up right now because of PPP. I know Steve Mariani from Diamond Financial can make some deals happen. Has anybody else been working with SBA lenders?
Yeah.
you have, Roberta?
We're working on a couple of the deals that ought to be closing, and so far there haven't been any changes to the protocols that were already set forth, and we hope that we'll have more information. Maybe we need to reconnect again in another month and see how everything unfolds.
Yeah.
So see what happens when they get into underwriting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Anybody else want to touch on the SBA?
I mean, we're still using, going through the process with Lynn Singletary at Bank United. A couple of the deals are still forward through underwriting. About 3 or 4 of the other ones are just put on hold at this time because of the virus in the restaurants, so they're going to be put on hold. But the others are still moving forward. We're expecting a closing on May 11th on a restoration company.
Great.
You know, Jim, I think that we have to expect that lending is going to become very tight in the coming months and in the next year. And again, like Michael and everyone else was touting, we're going to have to get very creative with our deal structure. We're going to, again, and you can't reiterate it enough times, make sure that our paperwork is tight. And that we are getting paid on all the different types of transactions, that whether they're holdbacks or earnouts or however it's structured, that we receive our just compensation in those scenarios, and that we're thinking outside of the box with each new scenario that presents itself.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Roberta and Mike. I agree with you guys. I think also we got to keep the eye on the SBA situation, because if they do move that guaranteed percentage from 75% to 90%, I think that'll be huge for the banks. That may encourage the banks to open up the lending a little bit more if they got such protection. So I think we got Peter Harrison. I think Peter, you can now ask your question. Are you there, Peter?
Hello?
Hi, Peter.
Hey. Sorry, I just want to say we were doing a deal a couple weeks ago, and it turned into a stock sale because he was able to use all those government benefits the new owner was. So it changed from an asset purchase to a stock sale. So you're going to see a bunch of those type of deals because they can get all that free money. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So just that was just interesting to me that they were able to apply for those benefits, all the employees and things like that.
I got one going on like that now. So they're trying to max out the benefits and buy the stock.
Yeah, it's a great thing to mention to the buyers. Hey, you could take advantage of this money, and the seller had no problem with that. So
yeah, you really got to make sure the lawyers are on top of transferring the personal liability tied to the loan and how that gets transferred. And I think the lawyers are still figuring it out.
Yeah, they had their own team that did that, but it was just an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah, one thing we're all going to have to kind of really, and I don't know if I'm treaded into the parts unknown, is make sure that, not just the brokers, but the other deal parties, the lawyers, and the other advisors are educated up. Before this stuff went down, deals were getting killed by outside advisors, right? And given all the changes of late, it's going to be real important that the attorneys and the accountants that are in the BBF are educated up on the constantly changing things so that they don't inadvertently destroy deals out of ignorance, and too often. So if you're a new broker out there, control the deal. Russell used to yell at me, control the deal, right, Russell? Control the deal, control the parties in the game. Don't invite parties into the game who shouldn't be in there because they're ignorant just because they got JD behind their name. Because everybody's on heightened edge. So if you don't control the deal and how the information flows and who's giving advice, you got to make sure they know what they're talking about. Maybe we should do this for the lawyers. Get Cutner crew on here.
More so than ever right now, Mike.
More so than ever, because
maybe we should Zoom with all our professional affiliates.
Yeah,
Get them
right.
all in one shot.
I agree.
Mandatory for membership.
There you go.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions for our great panel that we have up here? I'm trying to scroll through the questions you guys typed. If I missed anything, let me know. Retype it. Okay, Glenn Bear asked a really important question. He said, how are you handling initial meetings with potential seller listings? And if it's okay, I'd like to start off with that. I actually listed a pool business over in Tampa Bay right about, about a week and a half ago. And it's an essential business, and their numbers haven't gone down at all. They have not lost any accounts. They deal with a lot of very, very rich account of people. But I never met with the seller face to face. I talked to them. I asked for their financials. They emailed me the financials. I did the ad backs with them, and everything's either been through email or phone. And I listed it. Never met with them, and I'm planning on doing that more in the future. And I look at these brokers from all over the country that specialize in certain industries that they never meet with anybody. I've got a broker with my company. He specializes in auto repair businesses. He lived in California for a couple years, and he was listing and selling auto repair businesses here in Florida. He's a licensed agent here in Florida. And he never met or went to a closing with the seller or the buyer. So it can be done. You just got to change the way you think. So if anybody else on the panel wants to answer that question.
We've been selling businesses around the country for a lot of years now, and literally not meeting buyer or seller. And I think you have to make a few changes to your paperwork and your approach, etc. But it's certainly doable, especially if you have a good presence and a good reputation, and folks can do a little bit of research and see that you are for real and reputable. I've not had any issue with that.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Glenn stretches to the upper end of stuff in terms of his deal size. And I think those people used to need a lot of hand-holding and face-to-face. This is the new norm. I think the apprehension that used to exist around digital communication is gone. And I think he'll be able to be his normal charming self through a Skype call or a FaceTime call or a Zoom call just as well. So his reputation's fine. I think, I did 2 listings this week and I didn't meet anybody. So he'll be fine.
Great. Anybody else on the panel want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll say a few words.
Russell?
Yeah, normally when I'm talking to a seller on the phone, you get a little bit of information and then you're trying to see if it's worthwhile to get in there and talk to them in person. Now, you got to probe deeper and deeper into these calls, where it was a couple minutes, or maybe now you're going, 10, 15 minutes in, you're going to try to find some of obviously the pain and the issues. And a lot of the sellers are not volunteering this information. The other day, I was talking to a potential seller, and they didn't volunteer that they had a SBA loan and they were $200,000 in debt with the SBA loan. So you're gonna have to upfront probe them and see if it's worth going forward to the next level.
Great, thank you, Russell. The next thing Terri, did you want to say anything?
No, I think everyone's covered it. I mean, just taking advantage of the tools that we have here, like the Zoom platform and other platforms. And I think even when it comes to, if we get to that step of the buyer-seller meetings, now in air quotes, if it's via conference call or the same, using platforms like this to help kind of create that synergy between the two parties and hopefully get deals done. So I think it can absolutely be done remotely, and we just have to kind of get comfortable, as it was already said, with using these tools.
Yeah, I agree with Mike and Terri. This is going to be, I never used Zoom before, and I think this is going to be a new thing in my arsenal even when we get past this. But we are going to also be facing situations down the road with buyer-seller meetings, and the rules and regulations state that a buyer's agent doesn't show up to that first meeting, it can turn into a 20% referral fee. That's something that the BBF board has had some discussions with. Roberta and I have talked. We're going to have to do something with that, because we do have a lot of older members in the BBF that are the high risk categories that Florida does open up in a couple of weeks. Might not be wise for people in high risk categories to expose themselves to those situations. So that's something we're going to be looking into. Marketing techniques that you guys would recommend. Is there any marketing techniques right now you guys recommend?
I think, just, if I may say, just again, if you're in a position to be a resource, blog posts, I think it was Mike that was talking about the YouTube videos, things like that, the content that lives, if you will, for a long time, because people are searching. So if they're searching keywords for, how do I sell a business? How do I buy a business? And thinking about keyword searches and creating content that will outlive this that we're in is great, because you never know how people can find that and in their minds establish you as being the authority and being someone that they want to seek out.
Thank you, Terry. Roberta, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that if we start utilizing like email campaigns, which we're up to like a 35% respond rate, which is pretty good, but utilize MailChimp or one of those that keep you in compliance and have all the opt-out and address it directly to the individual. I think that people should look into that and learn how to use them, that they'll become a terrific resource for them.
That's the cheapest form of advertising, I think, is Constant Contact or MailChimp, for the amount of people you can reach. Frank Father was asking, how do you maintain your success fee at the listing process? Mike, Shea, you want to answer that? Because I know you touched on that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what Frank told me when he trained me 16 years ago. Have your paperwork tight and just say no. I mean, the reality is there's going to be less brokers, and they really don't have a choice. I mean, where are they going to go? Now, we also are going to get a bunch of realtors flooding the market, so we really need to differentiate business broker. Realtors are going to kind of try and scrape together stuff, so we got to differentiate, but the internet's facilitated that. So if a seller's done any research at all, they're going to know the difference between a business broker and a real estate agent, unless they're completely ignorant. But just say no. I mean, it's like, no. Okay. Or go back at them and go, what part of my marketing or sales do you want me to not do? Do you want me to not do the email campaigns? Do you want me to not do my social media? Do you want me to only be on 2 websites? Which one? I mean, this isn't freaking, whatever that real estate agent was, pick your Baskin Robbins of business brokerage, right? Pick your poison. And the reality is it just demonstrates the foil of what they don't know the answer. I mean, they're asking that because they're probably over a financial strait. But we can't afford to do our business, on pennies. So something's going to have to give, and let them pick which one. And they're not gonna be able to answer it because they're not gonna know which one's most effective. And the reality is they're all effective. So they want to put themselves in a position where they don't sell, right? It's like going into a firefight and saying, I don't want to take my knife or my revolver or my machine gun. You got to bring them all, right? That was my martialistic comment, Frank.
I think that you have to establish value. And if you do your job and you don't try to rush through the listing process, etc., that people shouldn't challenge your minimums or your ask price. I think that when we don't do our job and we don't go back to basics and we don't illustrate the differences between a professional business broker and a realtor, you're going to hear those, well, I was offered 6%. Well, let's see what they were offering for that 6%. Ask them about an NCNDA, an OM, blah, blah, blah. Use the verbiage that most of them won't even understand. If they can answer those questions, then, okay, well, maybe you have a point there. But I've not found one that could. And again, I think if you take the time and you're definitive and confident, usually people don't challenge you too much about that.
Yeah, I think it's important to educate the people in terms of we bring out a package, an example of how we value businesses, how we package it, how we do it. And we put a whole package together, and quite often I bring it, and after I've gotten through talking to the people, they don't even ask to really look through it in detail, but they can see that there's this vast amount of information. We have, for a great business, we might have a 40-some page CIM or CBR and a 20-some page valuation, and they want that, and that's something that we offer that are trained by VBF and IPBA that the average real estate agent doesn't have. And then we also share, hey, you know, we've seen businesses that go on that are listed by real estate agents, and the element of confidentiality is quite often violated, and that's not what they need out there. So they're paying for good quality value, and I have a lot of people that really love the package that we put together, and I know all of you here that do the same sort of thing, and it makes a difference.
I had a boss who said to me in my 20s, he said, Roberta, there's 3 components to any sale: price, quality, and service. If somebody wants price, they can choose 2 of the 3, but they can't have all 3 unless they're willing to pay for it. So give them the choice. Which one do they want to excuse? Price, the quality, or the service? You know, usually when people start to reflect a bit about it, they'll rethink any type of negotiating about something that's more than equitable. And I think what we all charge for what we do is certainly more than equitable.
Jim and I have been talking about putting together a one-page brochure for the BBF showing the benefits of our organization so we can present to the sellers, because obviously it's phenomenal what we can do for the sellers through the BBF. They do not know that. So on Facebook, I put up a topic. I want all the BBF members to give your opinion. What are the benefits of at least one benefit, so we can turn it into a nice shiny brochure you can put in your seller's presentation and use the power of the BBF to combat the realtors and commercial realtors, whoever you're competing against. But that is probably missing in everyone's presentation right now. Unmute, Jim.
Jim, you're muted.
Jim, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Russell. I appreciate your input, and I appreciate you doing that. If anybody can add to that on the Facebook page, that'd be greatly appreciated. We got a question here. If you're a new broker, what are the not going forward criteria for a new listing? So I guess what they mean is, what you're going after a listing, what are the things that you would look at and say, I'm not going to list that right now? Anybody?
I'll go first, I guess. I think an unrealistic seller. You know, their expectations are unrealistic, and I think in a normal environment that would always be an uphill battle to begin with, but certainly in this environment it would probably make it worse.
I think Lynn Crick had a good one, also, Patrick, that if the debt was greater than the value of that business in a distress sale, to walk away from it.
Yes.
Yeah, one rule I've always used, I've said to myself, being as put myself in the buyer's shoes, and I've owned a lot of businesses. If I would, I have no intention of listing it. If it doesn't make sense to me as a buyer, don't waste your time.
You got a lot of sellers who are going to be under tremendous stress, and you don't need it transferred to you. That's most important. I always tell, even prior to the pandemic, I said, I don't want your stress. My business is stressful enough. So if you can't handle it, you know, if you're going to put stress on me to a quick turnaround, not happening, I'm not going to deal with it. So you got to be careful. Those type of sellers who are going to be on your ass constantly, the high high maintenance sellers who are going to push their stress, their problems onto you, and that's not fair to you.
And I think also I joke and say about learning the certain kind of buzz phrases like well, I don't really need to sell, and kind of being wary of those. There's always something kind of underlying usually, and paying attention to that too. And those are the ones that usually turn in, at least in my experience, into what Russell's talking about. Like they just become a complete headache. So I think really trying to probe and listen to what's not being said a lot of times in these initial meetings is very important too. Also,
when a seller calls you, get a price reduction. They need your advice. Every time someone calls me, I come out with a price reduction. Just get it. They're basically leaning on you, pulling you. Get a price reduction. That's it. Or get updated financials, which are not going to give you, so just get a price reduction.
That's great. Your sellers probably stopped calling you too.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, they've been coming down in price.
Yeah, that's great.
The point's correct, though. I mean, they don't call you beforehand, right, to listen to you and coach them up so they get what they need. They wait till the last minute, and then you're trying to fix stupid, and you can't fix stupid.
Jim, I have a quick comment.
When they're saying stuff, read what they're saying underneath. And the point about the pain, look, we're all going to be in a huge amount of work right now. More work than we've ever done for probably less money right now.
Yeah,
you got to run your business. You can't take on trouble. And those are the people
that low expectations right now. You got to tell the sellers up front the reality of how many businesses sell prior and after, which is going to be worse. Got to set really low expectations so they don't go after you while you're in the engagement. And you also, once you take the engagement, how are you going to communicate with them? Because if there's no communication, then you're the devil. So it's very important how you're going to communicate with them after the engagement's up. Is it by email? In my engagement agreement, it explains how my office is going to keep up with them on a monthly basis. So that's very important to avoid sellers accusing you.
Great. Tony, you had a decision report, right?
Yeah, I wanted to add something to one of the comments about some of the, if the sellers have a lot of debt on the business and, shying away from that, I would just look at that, a little bit differently, because I've done it in the past, is negotiating that debt down. We work with the SBA, work with franchises, negotiating debt down, and got a deal done. We got one of our highest commissions, it was about $100,000 on a deal that was all just negotiated debt down from the SBA, from a franchise, and the landlord, and we still got the deal done on 3 stores. So it can be done.
Because at the end of the
I wouldn't shy away from it.
At the end of the day, the franchisor, the landlord, and the bank, they all wanted to get the deal done.
Exactly.
And they understood they all had to give up some of that debt.
Yep, and we're actually working on one right now with 2 other stores with another franchise.
And anybody else? I want to touch on what Russell was kind of alluding to, that we might get to a point where we're going to have more work, and I think we will. I've been preaching as much as I possibly can over the last few years that we're going to see the greatest chance for a personal financial wealth the world has ever seen, because we're going to see this baby boomer generation retire, and a large portion of them own, or there's a good amount of them that own small businesses, and they're going to want to retire, and they're going to want to sell those businesses. I have seen over the last 3 or 4 years, I've talked to more people in their 60s that are looking to sell than I ever saw before. But I really think this may be the situation right now, the coronavirus, that kind of makes these sellers, when we get past it, go, I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on. The ones that are 68, 70 that wanted to retire, but they've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I think this might finally be the nail in the coffin. I shouldn't use that analogy. I'm really this might be that one scenario, that one situation where they say, that's it. I'm done. I've been through enough, my last 30, 40 years as a business owner. I'm done. I don't want to experience it again. And I think we could be sitting in 6 months, a year from now, talking to a lot of business owners in their 60s and 70s ready to give it in for sure this time. So, all right, do we have any other questions? Any other advice or anything you guys want to leave, the panelists you guys want to leave with the membership?
Play nice.
Keep positive.
Positive.
Look for
Absolutely.
opportunities.
And taking advantage of all the resources that, you know, the BBF is putting on and a lot of the other organizations as well.
Great.
And I think be grateful to the leaders we have at BBF, people like Jim who have their own business to run and their own family to take care of, for setting these things up and educating everybody and helping everybody out. That we are fortunate to be part of such an organization and have Jim as the president and the other people around the state that are leading, doing such a great job to carry us through this. So thank you, Jim.
Patrick, thank you. But that includes people like you and Roberta and DiNeno and, you know, Russell Cohen does a lot, Brian Stephens. I mean, it's we got a great district and state board. So, you know, it's fantastic.
You know, we all have a lot to offer people. The buyers and sellers, I'll repeat it again. Even the newest brokers, if you've gone through some training, just have an awful lot of what buyers and sellers need. You know, and I just be encouraged when they tell you what the price should be. You need to be telling them what the price needs to be and tell them how it works. They don't know, and you have so much knowledge, and we have a gift to give to people, and it's very valuable. So, just be encouraged.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate everybody. Roberta Caputo, Russell Cohen, Brian Stephens, DiNeno, Mike Shea, Tony Blair, Patrick Lange, Terri Sherman. You guys were all fantastic. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to talk to everybody on the webinar. And I hope the attendees, the people that were listening in today, got something out of it. And, you know, I think, is it okay to say that I think everybody on this panel would be okay to a phone call or an email if anybody listening has a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Because, you know, I think that's what the BBF's all about, is supporting and helping each other as much as we possibly can. Well, we'll end there, and until next time, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All the way from the beaches here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.